Is this the best DIY golf simulator enclosure money can buy? This is the Parlour Series Golf Enclosure by the Sports Screen, and it's the biggest addition to my ongoing sim room update. This sim room is all coming together, and this enclosure is the centerpiece of it all. In today's video, I'm going to show you exactly how to build this enclosure, and I'm going to be putting it through its paces to see how good this thing really is. It's pricey, but is it worth the money? Let's get into it. First things first, what are the components like? Everything turned up in 3 neatly packed boxes, and first impressions were great. This simulator is a great choice because instead of using metal or plastic tubing for the framework, the Sports Screen uses aluminium bars. They're light enough to work with, but at the same time, the shape of them offers incredible strength and stability. The rigidity of the frame is really important because it's that rigidness that takes the noise out of hitting balls into it. On top of the strength of the frame itself, the nuts and bolts that came with this to put it all together fitted perfectly into these bars. And again, a snug fit just increases the strength of the whole unit. When it comes to starting to actually build the frame, the step-by-step guide was really easy to follow. Every single stage of the build had its own QR code to a video on YouTube to dive deeper into the instructions on how to build it. For the most part, I didn't actually use those videos because the step-by-step instruction manual was really good. Don't get me wrong, there are some fiddly bits to this build, but you kind of expect that considering that this build is offering so much strength and stability. There are probably easier enclosures to build, but they won't be anywhere near as well built as this one. And to be honest with you, I'm probably making this sound harder than it actually was. Let me show you exactly how easy this was to build. Step 1 to building this enclosure was obviously the frame. Every component of this frame was color coded, so there was literally no way that you could mess this up. The first step was to join the 2 vertical and 2 horizontal pieces together to create longer bars. Although this is the smallest enclosure that the Sports Screen make, it's still a pretty big unit, standing at over 8.5 feet tall and nearly 11.5 feet wide. So naturally there's going to be a few joints in the frame. The components to put these joints together though were extremely strong. Spring-loaded half-round nuts made this process a hell of a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. And these angle joiners are heavy duty and needed 8 bolts to put them in place. Like I said, these frames are built to be rigid and they are built to last. Next up was the corner joints. Again, the half-round nuts making this fiddly process a hell of a lot easier. The fact that this build needed a drill to put some of these joints together really shows how much the Sports Screen want these frames to last a lifetime. And with that in mind, these frames come with a lifetime warranty. So the Sports Screen are really putting their money where their mouth is. Once you've got the sides built and you've got the horizontal bars joined together, it's time to put the whole thing together. You might find that you'll need a second pair of hands to help you put the top bars in place, but other than that, this whole process was a one-man job. Really simple instructions, really simple build, and no DIY experience needed. That's how simple this frame was to put together. If you can put IKEA furniture together, you can put this enclosure together. Now, I did do something a little bit reckless during this build. I wanted to test how strong this frame really was. Now, for context, I am 6'2" and I am 16.5 stone. I am basically a big lump of lard. And this frame didn't bat an eyelid. I doubt anyone actually has a need to do pull-ups on their golf simulator enclosure, but it's nice to know you can. But don't try this at home. You will definitely void your lifetime warranty if you break it. After you've got your frame built, it's time to add the fabric panels. I won't lie to you, this I struggled with. Not because it's difficult to do, but because me and bungee cords do not work together. When these buggers slip out of your fingers, you will have yourself questioning why you ever took up golf in the first place. It really hurts. But in reality, all you have to do is bungee cord these fabric panels to the frame. It's that simple. It did take a little bit longer than expected, and I was up and down the ladder constantly while doing this part of the build, but overall, it's a really simple process. One thing this enclosure comes with that some don't is a back panel. This back panel is going to help your impact screen retain more light, and therefore you'll have a better quality picture. And like I said, some enclosures don't include a back panel, but those that do really help improve the quality of your experience. Once you've got all the panels on, it's time to add your impact screen and tidy things up a little bit. putting the impact screen in place was the easiest part of this build. Rather than bungee cording every single edge of the impact screen to the frame, all you have to do is velcro the top of the impact screen to that rear panel and then just use 6 bungee cords to tie the sides of the impact screen to the frame. This is a much easier way of attaching an impact screen, and it reduces bounce back. Imagine the impact screen had bungee cords all the way around every single edge. It would basically act like a giant trampoline, which isn't a good thing. After the impact screen is in place, it's time to add the corner pieces. And I'll tell you something, this was the trickiest part of the build. These are the panels that are supposed to make this whole thing look neat and tidy, and I really struggled to make that look good. All of the internal panels basically have these Velcro strips that these corner panels attach to. And I basically found that these Velcro strips didn't line up very well. They'd be quite wide on one end and narrow on another. And I really struggled to make these corner panels look neat and tidy. But after you've taken a step back and you look at your enclosure, it's basically impossible to see these corner panels. So basically I was fussing over literally nothing. Now for reference for you guys at home, this enclosure is the Parlour Series 11. It's a pretty big frame and it's actually the smallest standard size that the sports screen offer. I mentioned earlier that it's 8.5 foot tall and 11.5 foot wide. They have 2 standard sizes that are bigger than this, but they also offer a custom sizing option. So whatever type of space you've got, this enclosure will fit. Now the final step to this is to set up the projector and turn this enclosure into a golf simulator. I mentioned earlier that the Parlour series comes in 3 different sizes, and these 3 standard sizes match perfectly to normal aspect ratios of 16:9 and 4:3. Making them this size makes it so much easier to set up your projector. All you need to do is set your PC or tablet to the aspect ratio you've got, get the distance from the screen to the projector spot on, and away you go. I ordered the 3-ply impact screen, and the light absorption on this impact screen is incredible. And to be honest with you, to go from 1-ply to 3-ply was only $100, and it is well worth the money. My projector is a second-hand purchase from eBay. It barely cost me $250, and it looks incredible on this impact screen. It's only HD as well. And like I said, once you've got the projector set up, you're good to go. You can start hitting golf balls. Start to finish, I think this build took me about 3 hours. I know I've changed clothes throughout this build. It's because of filming and all this kind of stuff. But basically, it took about 3 hours to put this whole thing together. I had a little bit of help from my wife when I was putting the horizontal beams on the top of the frame, but that's about it. Everything else, like I said, was a one-man job, and I don't think it actually took me that long to do. But now that it's all set up, let me go through some pros and cons of this enclosure. It's not all sunshine and roses. I'll start with the negatives because I think it's important to be realistic here. There's a long list of pros with this product, but if one of these cons make this unit unsuitable for you, it's important to know early on. My first con is that the custom size model of this enclosure is $1,000 more expensive than their smallest enclosure. Again, I have the smallest enclosure here in my sim room, and it is still pretty big. In the sports screen's defense, if you have room for a golf simulator, then you're gonna have enough room for the smallest enclosure. So I can't imagine there are many people out there that would need the custom size model. And those that do want a custom size model are probably looking for a bigger unit than the sports screen even offer, which would kind of justify the $1,000 extra. Again, this smallest enclosure is 8.5 foot tall, 11.5 foot wide. If you want a golf simulator, that's basically the minimum requirements anyway. My second con is the top corner panel. I think this is more of a me issue than a product issue, but basically when I hit my lob wedge, the launch angle is so perfect that it goes directly into that top corner panel. Now don't get me wrong, the corner panel is stopping the golf ball from hitting that metal bar, but even the recoil on that top corner is pretty strong. I do think that this is more of a setup issue on my part. I use the FlightScope Mevo Plus as my launch monitor, and the more ball flight that I have, the more accurate my unit is. So basically, I've set my enclosure up too far away from my hitting area. It's further away than the sports screen recommends, so I don't think this is a sports screen issue, I think it's a me issue. But maybe that's something worth bearing in mind. If you do have a radar unit and you want to put your screen back as far as possible, you might want to consider a solution to this problem. Now for me, I'm thinking of packing behind that corner panel with a load of foam, and that should soften the impact of the ball on that corner panel, which I think is a fairly cheap and simple solution to this non-problem. I'll be honest with you, that's basically it for the negatives. Don't get me wrong, this enclosure costs $2,400. It's not the cheapest enclosure, but if you're in the market for a premium golf simulator enclosure, then this is basically your best option. Carl's Place do have some great options, but this is cheaper, and I think it's probably better. The list of positives is really, really long, and I'm not going to bore you too much with this long list of pros. But basically put, the frame is the strongest frame out there. Its strength and stability creates a much quieter environment to hit in. The quality of the impact screen that comes as standard with this model is incredible. That has been a massive upgrade to my space. The image that I'm seeing now is way better than I had before. The build process is a lot easier than it looks. It looked quite complicated coming out the box, but really it was extremely simple, just like building IKEA furniture. And for the price, this has to be the best premium DIY golf simulator enclosure on the market. I challenge anyone watching this video to find a better enclosure for the same or lower price. I think you're going to be looking for a very long time. If you'd like more information about these enclosures, or you want to know more about the Sport Screen as a company, click on the link in the description. It'll take you straight to their website where they will have all of the information you need to make an informed decision about your golf simulator. There's so much information on their website, and there's loads of different options for enclosures. They've even got a vanishing enclosure. And tell you something, that thing looks incredible. As you've seen throughout this video, I am in the middle of upgrading this simulator room, and I will be uploading a video about that in the next few weeks. On top of that, after I've used this enclosure for a while, I'm gonna do a 30-day review to see how this thing is holding up. Is it gonna show any signs of wear and tear? Is the impact screen gonna hold up? Am I gonna break it by doing too many pull-ups? If you wanna find out, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on those videos. But for now, thank you so much for watching this whole video. If you're still here and you're not subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you next week for another video.